we are going to stand for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Rutherford, will you pledge allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is public comments. Just a few rules. I will say your name. If you are representing a singleton yourself, you get 3 minutes. If you are representing a group, you get 5. Ernie will be our timekeeper. When you have 30 seconds left, we have a sign that says 30 seconds. And once you're done, we have the stop. Please be done. Keep it respectful. And we wish that we don't keep repeating the same thing over and over again. However, also state your name and your address before you have your comments, okay? We have Robert Jubish.
Good afternoon. Is this working?
Is the green light on?
Good afternoon. So my comment is in reference to I think there's going to be a vote this afternoon on the proposed expansion of Monroe. And I will say, in reference to the comprehensive plan, the planning commission, the zoning rules, and a number of other factors keeping Nelson rural, there seems to be a lot of wiggle room. It can go on and on forever in conversation or discussion. I think the very least amount of wiggle room comes up with the fact that probably a good solid 90% of the people who live there have said quite clearly over the past couple of months, they see no value in it, nothing good at all about that expansion for them. On the opposite side, there is a corporation that doesn't live there, that for the most part will never live there, and they wouldn't invite a lot of people in to use the water and the land who will also never live there. So I think the very smallest amount of wiggle room comes into the fact of all of you people are sitting there because you are supposed to represent the people. There's not much wiggle room in what the people have said relative to this expansion. Not much at all. And whatever you do decide to do will be forever the community. If it affects the water, no matter what it affects, it will never stop. So I think anyone who votes to approve this, it's almost like saying, I'm not really going to represent my people. I'm going to represent a corporation and the possibility of getting more money in the tax revenue. And I think that would be a terrible choice, but I think that's where the least amount of wiggle room is for discussion. And thank you all for being here and doing what you do. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Marilyn Anderson.
Marilyn Anderson. I'm at 140 Rainbow Ridge Road in Foster. It's easier for me to read this than to try and make it up from memory. So, members of the board, you are asked to deny this special use permit application because this proposed conference center expansion is incompatible with our rural residential community. It is inconsistent with Nelson County's long-term comprehensive plan, and the special use application fails to meet half of the Nelson County criteria for the special use permit. The special use permit application is for 53.5 acres. The proposed building site consists of substantially fewer acres. If approved, what constraints or restrictions prevent development on the remaining acres is the future commercial expansion carte blanche? Water. Well, I think we're all concerned with our water. Our own well on Rainbow Ridge Road went dry several years ago. Of great concern, our new well on our property is located near the site of the Monroe Institute's proposed new well near the Rockfish River tributary. As with all of our neighbors, well water supply is paramount. So we are opposed to the proposed extensive expansion of this commercial business in our Zone A1 agriculture district. Inevitably, it would seriously and permanently impact our community, which is already facing issues with water supplies, road maintenance, traffic, and the loss of our quiet, natural, rural environment along the ridge. This is not about the mission or reputation of the Monroe Institute. It is about an extensive 59,000 square feet commercial structures, irreversible impact on our rural ridge community, a campus that does not belong on A1 zone land. And for Board of Supervisor members who have campaigned to keep Nelson County rural, now is the time to affirm your sincerity. We ask that you deny this special use permit application. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could keep the applause down, please. Anne Catherine Brittle. Burdell.
Anne Catherine Burdell, 334 Rainbow Ridge Road. Ditto to what Marilyn just said. She's my neighbor. We also have had water issues where we live. The comprehensive plan, which everybody is going to come up here and talk about, I know that you're not bound to it, but why did we go to all those meetings to ask for what we did? And I would ask you to take that into like a high priority. I know taxes are important to you all, but we really don't know how much that will bring in from Monroe Institute. So I would like to reach into your hearts and think about what we're going through at the moment at the new land. And imagine if somebody came close to where you live right now and upset the dynamic of what you've been experiencing for a very long time, and how you would feel if your quality of life was impacted the way we feel that this expansion and the monumental size of it, and also we don't know what the long-term effects will be. We don't know if they will creep out into those 53 acres even more. We don't know any of that. And so I would like you to think about how we feel on the new land and how far are you going to go in compromising this county's commitment to the comprehensive plan and the zoning laws. So, did I get into your hearts at all? Your minds? Thank you very much.
Connie Musenti.
I'm Connie Musenti, and I live on Rainbow Ridge Road near the Monroe Institute. Yes, I have been very opposed to the Monroe Institute expansion regarding the many ways it does not agree with a comprehensive plan and how it will change all of our lives in not a good way. Now I'm even more concerned after carefully rereading their application that was presented to the Planning Commission. The Monroe Institute is asking the county to approve 7 parcels of land adding up to 54 acres, not just the 17 acres they had mentioned for the 59,000 square foot conference center originally. This information that slipped by me, and I'm sure many others, has greatly heightened my concern. The focus on the convention center obscured the actual total number of acres requested for the SUP. This news is incredibly disturbing because if their special use permit is granted, there is the potential for them to build multiple structures on the 54 acres. They could sell the entire 54 acres to another business or a development, especially if the Monroe Institute goes bankrupt or just decides to move to another location. There has not been any discussion regarding the request for a special use permit for 54 acres. It's in the application, yet the main focus of discussion these past months have only focused on the parcel for the 59,000 square foot convention center. This avoidance of disclosure feels intentional to me and confirms my lack of trust regarding the true motives of the Monroe Institute. Conveniently not mentioning information is not reassuring. This proposal now appears to be even more non-compatible with the county's comprehensive plan and has the potential to radically turn our rural community into a totally different place. The comprehensive plan that took thousands of taxpayers' dollars and many years to create confirmed that a special use permit cannot be issued if it changes the character of the land. We have no idea what the Monroe Institute will do with almost 54 acres of land if the SUP is approved. This proposal does not meet the criteria for preserving our agricultural land. Setting the precedent by approving this request will negatively affect the entire county. We are relying on you, the governance of the Board of Supervisors, to please apply the special use permit criteria and not allow this to happen. I hope and trust that you will protect Nelson County from this precarious expansion. Thank you so much for an opportunity to speak with you.
Nathan Kruder.
Hello, my name is Nathan Kruder. My parents live on Rainbow Bridge Road. I live in North Carolina, but visit them frequently and hope to live here again one day. I would like to make the conservative case for why special use permit 250358 should be denied. First, we need to acknowledge that it is one of the core principles of conservatism that we are allowed to use our own property in the ways we see fit. This was a core issue in the Revolution, the founding of our nation, and the founding of Virginia. However, there are limits to this freedom. I'm not allowed to place a nuclear reactor on my land because of how it will affect land around me. What is proposed under the special use permit is obviously not as dramatic as a nuclear reactor, but it will have negative effects upon neighbors and neighboring lands. The comprehensive plan is designed and intended to balance our property rights, our rights to do things with our own land, with another one of our freedom to be spared from the things that other people choose to do to us, things that will hurt our quality of life. Conservatism requires that we be skeptical of change. If something ain't broke, don't fix it. The progressive development vision of the Monroe people doesn't align with the values of Nelson County and its residents. Conservatism does require us to support ventures that will increase economic opportunity and keep taxes low. But we do not have to sacrifice our rural lands and rural ways of life when the comprehensive plan has already designated areas for such development. The Monroe Institute should not be granted the right to impinge upon the freedoms of their neighbors by converting A1 agricultural land to a convention center. I do not want for Nelson County to resemble Fairfax County. This sort of exemption is how we will wake up one day and realize that our county has become another Fairfax. Farming and traditional ways of life are foundational to the values of our nation and foundational to the values of conservatism. I am 46 years old, born and raised in Virginia. In my lifetime, not one Virginia county has increased its agricultural lands. All have lost farmland. Once farmland is converted to other uses, it never comes back, and the community changes forever, more urbanized, more congested with outsiders. Finally, when we think of this sort of exception that could be allowed under the special use permit, which has been proposed by outsiders, by non-residents who do not share our homes and do not share our values, I would ask you to consider what the old folks might say. By the old folks, I mean my grandparents' generation. Think of what they might say and what I'm certain they would not say. Never once have I heard one of the old folks say, I'm glad that farm is gone. Never once have I heard one of the old folks say, I'm glad that view is gone. Never once have I heard one of the old folks say, I'm glad out-of-towners built that thing and then left. Never once have I heard the old folks say, I'm glad we had to drill a new well. Never once have I heard one of the old folks say, I'm glad that road is busier. Never once have I heard one of the old folks say, I'm glad I don't recognize any of this anymore. Let the Monroe people build their center along with 151 or along 29. Don't let them violate the comprehensive plan and take more farmland. We can balance our need for commercial development and our need to preserve rural life. Please deny this permit and invite the Monroe folks to build their center in one of the development corridors already designated in the comprehensive plan. That is the conservative and prudent course of action here. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin Ramirez.
Thanks for this opportunity to speak. My name is Colin Ramirez. I live on 514 Rainbow Ridge Road on the new land and have for over 20 years. I've been visiting Nelson County for many, many more years before that. I am strongly opposed to the proposed Monroe Institute expansion in any form. You will hear repeatedly it is not in any way, shape, or form compatible with the comprehensive plan, with agricultural zoning, or indeed harmonious living of any kind in Nelson County. Approval represents a dangerous precedent where the potential for a little extra tax revenue trumps any and all aspects of planning for a balanced rural community. I strongly expect the next proposal will be for data centers and other similar money-making ventures. Once the Board of Supervisors, if the Board of Supervisors makes it clear that tax revenue is all they care about at the expense of anything else. The current board of the Monroe Institute is not in any way, shape, or form representative of Nelson County, of our values, and may entirely be interested in financial development potential for this agricultural zoning land, thinly disguised as supporting a nonprofit with the potential to expand, grow, and sell a large-scale enterprise. It is really hard for me to imagine that all these board members that are rich, many of whom are developers, are all that interested in astral traveling. Nelson County residents should realize that if this proposal for expansion goes through, then no agricultural or protected or quiet or rural part of Nelson County that any and all of us live in will have any degree of protection from huge expansions of any kind, regardless of noise, regardless of pollution, regardless of sightlines, regardless of anything at all, if a little bit of tax revenue is offered. Please vote this disaster down. Thank you.
Harry Powell.
Hello, I'm Harry Powell, 4011 Stagebridge Road, Shipman. So as some of you may know, I spent the first nearly 30 years of my career working in the agricultural industry, traveling up and down the eastern half of the country into places like southern Pennsylvania and the Hudson Valley of New York. And I saw in that period of time, particularly in the Hudson Valley, places like the convention center, places like events places like wineries come, and they were very nice at first. And over the course of the 25 years or so I traveled there, I saw them gradually become tawdry, run down, and disappear. In the meantime, in many cases, especially in the Hudson Valley, taking a farmland at the same time. And now the last time I was up the valley just a few years ago, many of those places are places that I wouldn't want to go, even by my relatively low standards. And they probably at one time brought in some tax revenue. What kind of employment did they offer to the citizens of the area? Entry-level service jobs. Hey, you work hard, you get to be a housekeeper. Is that what we want for the children growing up in Nelson County? In the end, nearly all of them are gone, and the land is basically gone to waste. when we basically kind of, the county generally has formed a partnership with tourism. Tourism is kind of a fickle thing to draw a partnership with. I would strongly encourage the county to look at diversifying what kind of income producing areas we have in the region. We have a wonderful opportunity to bring in small high-tech companies that will offer good employment to our youth coming out, and indeed place little or no demands on the infrastructure of what we already have. If we want to look at the long-term events of what happens when demographics change, when people develop new interests, new patterns of movement, all sorts of things, let's look right up the top of Afton Mountain and how much incomes Nelson County got from that eyesore on the top of Afton Mountain. And I think that's what we can, if we pursue our current path, what we may be setting ourselves up for. So when tourism fails, we don't want Nelson County to be caught in the crosshairs. So thanks. That's all I have to say.
Keith Matisnik Snyder.
Hello, board members. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Heath Matisnik Snyder. I live at 1124 Roberts Mountain Road. Dear members of the board, I'm speaking to make a final plea and express my strong opposition to the Monroe Institute's proposed conference center. If the comprehensive plan is referenced in regards to this expansion, there is no way the Board of Supervisors can, in good faith, support this proposal. The comprehensive plan states, Nelson will encourage new development in designated growth areas so that existing infrastructure can be more efficiently used and rural lands will be protected from development. Despite what Mr. Schimpf has stated last meeting, the proposed conference center is definitely not within the 29 growth corridor. The comprehensive plan identifies Livingston, Colleen, and Arrington as future growth areas, not Faber and not our rural neighborhood. I urge you to vote against the proposal. Please listen to the vast majority of the new land property owners, our neighbors, including Angie and Nelson Hicks and Kathy Versluis of the Acorn Inn, and Planning Commission members Richard Averett and Phil Prue, who have all spoken in strong opposition to this expansion. This vote is your chance to do what's right in the eyes of a majority of the potentially affected public. I also want to state that this expansion is decidedly a land use issue only. It is not a tax revenue issue. Please vote for the long-term keeping Nelson rural land use issues, rather than the short-sighted, easy money tax revenue of this massive conference center and hotel. This giant building will be out of sight, out of mind for most of you, but not for the property owners in new land. A conference center of this scale has absolutely no place in a rural bucolic community. Zero. If you decide to approve this proposal based on the easy tax money, that tax revenue may or may not ever come to fruition. But the special use permit change to the A1 agricultural land will continue in perpetuity. I know this is not your backyard, but it is our backyard. This 59,000 square foot structure will be built on property zoned A1 agriculture. It will also use a vast amount of water that could be argued is agricultural water for non-agricultural purposes. Several wells in our community periodically run dry. This expansion will only exacerbate the already taxed water supply. Furthermore, this expansion will bring 90 new strangers into our rural community every 2 weeks, if not more, for a total of at least 2,100 strangers a year. Make no mistake, this is absolutely a safety issue for our children. Many of you have children. I ask you, would you feel comfortable with this number of strangers inundating your home every 2 weeks? Your forthcoming vote will show if you believe in keeping Nelson County rural. Please vote against this proposal. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Stephanie Matisnik Snyder.
Hi, Stephanie Matisnik Snyder, 1124 Roberts Mountain Road. Greetings, members of the board. I am here today to also express my opposition to the Monroe Institute expansion. Members of the board, this is a land use issue, not a tax revenue issue. It should be treated as one. It's really that simple. Water is more important than money. The comprehensive plan is more important than money. Our community is more important than money. On the issue of water, this facility would use more water than the entire Newland residents combined. Wells have run dry. The facility could drain our wells. It's that serious. The issue of the comprehensive plan, you've committed to encourage new development in the designated growth areas that have been mentioned. The comprehensive plan is not a legally binding document, but it is your code of honor. You created it and we expect you to honor it. I'd like to again address, as Heath did, Mr. Schimp's comment about the 29 business corridor. It's false. We were located at the midpoint between 151 and 29. Ask any Newlander here if they live in a business corridor. This is false. On the issue of safety, a gun was left at the dock on our communal lake. Over 2,000 attendees will attend every year. There's bound to be safety issues. It's just going to happen. Finally, the Newland community spoke loudly and clearly. The vast majority of our neighbors strongly oppose this expansion. We are the citizens and the community members who work serving Nelson County just as you do. We are your first responders, your teachers, your healthcare workers, and we want to live here and raise our children in this beautiful area. For us, the stakes could not be higher, and we are extremely invested, as you can see, in this outcome. Conversely, the Institute, a global organization who no longer has true roots to this community, is indifferent to the outcome. They're on record saying so. Please, to the Institute, consider using your extensive budget to find an appropriate place to buy land and build in a designated growth area. Members of the board, nowhere in your job description does it say that you should evaluate special use permits based on tax revenue. The appropriate place to look at that issue is at your meeting tonight when you talk about your budget. Special use permits, from my understanding, should be a no-brainer. If the decision will adversely affect the community and the character, you vote no. The Monroe expansion involves a land use issue and must be evaluated solely on that basis. I want to make a final plea to you to choose what is best for the citizens of Nelson County and vote no on this expansion. Thank you.
Nancy Dunbar.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Dunbar. I'm at 5915 Howardsville Turnpike up on that mountain in Afton in the county. And I'm here not as a resident of the Newland community that would be most directly affected by this proposal, but as a citizen of Nelson County with a strong concern about the implications of a decision here for the entirety of the county. This is a tad bit repetitive because I endorse so much of what I have heard, but let me just run through 3 reasons quickly why you should say no to this. I feel strongly that, first of all, an honest application of the criteria for evaluating a special use permit will immediately lead you to a no. In the course of discussion, there have been the proposals from the developer and then responses from the community, then adjustments, right? But no amount of camouflage is going to hide a conference center in a rural community, not a bit. Secondly, future uncertainty. There have been several comments about not knowing where this will go. The important thing to remember is ownership is not inherent. It can move from person to person, but the special use permit continues on whenever the land is transferred. We have no idea what the future impact of a one-time conference center might be on the community. I am particularly moved by the comments of other residents about the comprehensive plan and about the designated zones of growth, agriculture, and so forth. As a person who also lives in a agricultural zone, the precedent set by a decision to allow this to go forward is terrifying because it means every agriculturally designated parcel in the county is open to the same arguments that are offered to you here. One final observation. In all of these development discussions, there's a proposal by a developer some response from the community, adjustments from the developer, and it seems like if we get to the point where the harms have been mitigated sufficiently, we move forward. Suppose we turn that around, and instead of asking whether or not harms are mitigated, we ask instead, what benefits are accrued to the residents of the new land? What benefits are accrued to the residents of Nelson County by this proposal? We'll rely on you to make that assessment. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Tish Blackwell.
Good afternoon, my name is Tish Blackwell. I'm with JABA, the Jefferson Area Board on Aging, at 674 Hillsdale Drive in Charlottesville, Virginia. I know I'm coming up, our organization is in a little bit on the agenda, but on behalf of JABA, I did want to come up this afternoon and thank you for your partnership and the support of elders in Nelson County. JABA's mission is to promote, establish, and preserve sustainable communities for healthy aging that benefit individuals of all ages and their families. The cornerstones of healthy aging focus on prevention, wellness, and personal responsibility, so every individual can champion their own health. JABA greatly appreciates Nelson County's commitment to highlighting the importance of evidence-based approaches, self-management, and community partnerships that empower individuals to lead their healthiest lives and remain living at home in their communities of choice for as long as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I said pitchfork. Elizabeth Bark?
You did great.
Thanks.
Elizabeth Putfark. And I live at 38 Old Stony Creek in Ellisford. So I'm here to ask you all to deny the special use permit for the Monroe Institute expansion. And in my day job as an environmental lawyer, I'm actually not a stranger to land use disputes, but I'm here in my personal capacity today. I'm here because I love this county and I deeply love the community that's at issue here. It's a place where my kids go regularly, frankly, to run wild. They're in the woods, they're down at the pond, they're up on the ridges, they are out until past dark, unsupervised. It's the kind of kid living that you would think doesn't exist if you just watch the news. But it does. It exists in this county, and I don't see it personified anywhere better than in the community that we're talking about right now. So I'm here because allowing this expansion, I believe, would sacrifice the safety and security that makes that possible, that facilitates that for my kids and for so many other kids that I love. But I can't keep the lawyer hat off entirely. So I wanted to share just 3 thoughts to keep in mind as you make this decision. The first is I just want to remind you of your incredible power. I mean, when people come to us, communities come to us and they say, this big project coming, what do? We say the most awesome power that exists is at your local board of supervisors because they get an up-down vote. Everybody else, every other decision maker down the line, they can nudge a project this way or that, but they don't get to decide what happens. You all do. It's an awesome power. It's almost impossible to appeal. Ask me how I know. That said, power's not unlimited. First, it's really limited in duration. A few people have mentioned that here today. Once you vote, it's out of your hands. So that means the consequences down the line, there's not much that you can do from your position. So it's out of your hands, but it's, it's still on your ledger. Second, your power is limited by the comprehensive plan. The joke in land use law circles is that the comp plan is like the Bible and you can find a verse to support whatever you want to do. But it's kind of a bad joke, right? Because it's not true of the Bible. If you read the Bible, there are plenty of hard as rock principles that run through it. It's also not true of the comp plan. Nelson County comp plan has those same principles. Preserve rural character, protect natural resources. Those are hard as rock running through it. They're clear as day. And I think if you take an honest look at this proposal, you realize that it goes directly against it. I don't need to recount all the reasons people have given. But the spirit and the letter of that document is against an expansion of a large institute in the middle of the best kind of rural county living that we have to offer here. So I hope you'll bear those things in mind. I hope you'll hold the line. Don't sacrifice this neighborhood. It's the best of what Nelson has to offer. And if you're not willing to protect a neighborhood this special for a proposal this out of place, it is worrisome for your decisions going forward. So thank you so much for your time.
Kim Maimone?
Hello, I'm Kimberly Mamoni. I live at 1270 Roberts Mountain Road. I am here today in regards to the Monroe Institute Special Use Permit. I'll be stating reasons why I feel you should deny it. First and foremost, water. We have had issues with water historically in our area, as you've heard many people say. For this reason alone, this should be denied. With this expansion, we will be doubling the amount of water consumption in the area that's already dry. For example, our house alone has 3 wells drilled in different areas on our property. As you heard in the last meeting, another neighbor currently has issues with water and has to be very conscious of their use. If we don't have water, we don't have homes anymore. Secondly, this is a conference center that's being proposed to be placed in a rural neighborhood. Again, a conference center in a rural neighborhood. That statement alone should make you second guess even considering pushing this forward. This conference center is going to have 90+ people weekly or bi-weekly in our area. That essentially doubles our community every week. These people, we don't know them. The Monroe Institute does not know them. There are no background checks done, and we have no idea what they're bringing into our neighborhood. These are people that will be around our family and children. I've heard it stated that this is a business corridor. How is a rural neighborhood part of a business corridor? This conference center should be placed in a business corridor, not here. Finally, this does not go along with the Nelson County Comprehensive Plan. This was something written and developed over years by the Planning Commission with citizen input. If we don't acknowledge that this goes against the comprehensive plan, then why do we even have it? It would be hypocritical and against the will of our beautiful county. This is the time to stand up and deny the special use permit. This will forever affect our lives, the community's relationship, and our natural resources in the area. Not to mention, this will forever change the landscape of it. This doesn't appear to be about wellness at all. This appears to be purely about money, and that's really unfortunate. Thank you.
Justin Mamone? Mamone?
My name's Justin Mamoni. I live at 1270 Roberts Mountain Road. And as someone who's done retreats at the Monroe Institute, I first want to state that I do appreciate the small scale work they do, as it is healing emotionally and spiritually for a lot of people. However, I feel blindsided by them, by the enormity of this project, which is nearly 60,000 square feet, and for the blatant disregard for their neighbors, their families, and community. There has been no effort or discussion to decrease the size of this project, something we've all been asking. They have agreed to relocate to a less visually baffling area, but they have made no attempt to decrease the size of this, even as their neighbors plead for compromise. What neighbor does that and claims to be doing this in the best interest of their community and their county? Going from approximately 20, 30 participants to approximately 90, potentially over 100 if they continue to use their current hoteling options, goes against the beauty that I found in the work of the Monroe Institute. It will no longer be a small program where you step outside and you feel like you're in the dream world that is our Nelson County. It will become a large-scale, factory-esque place that will clog our roads and forever mar the beautiful A1 agricultural hillside that this expansion is proposed to destroy. A beautiful picture has been painted by the architects, but if you truly analyze how close in proximity this is to Roberts Mountain Road and how prominent it is in the mountainous skyline, it becomes evident how jarring this will become to the aesthetic of our region. This is not Route 29. This is not a business corridor.
And this is not in line with the comprehensive plan that you are here to nurture. We live in a strong community that is growing and has some of the lowest taxes around. We are not discussing a few extra bucks that may be made by this expansion. We are talking as neighbors and as part of your community that we want to protect. Increasing the flow to Monroe Institute participants nearly 4 times is not a sign of healing the world. It's a sign of avarice and greed. Thank you.
Greg Ebelher.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Name is Greg Ebelher. I live at 140 Crystal Lane, have lived there for 25 plus years. And you know, when I pulled into the neighborhood this morning, the first thing that you see is no trespassing, private road. And so now with the proposed project, we are bringing in thousands of extra people per year. And after many had here poured their hearts out last meeting of how this is such a terrible idea, not only for our children's safety, our water table, which I think I probably have the deepest water well, which is over 400 feet, which we ran out of the water for the first time for like 7 hours. Very alarming. But not only for our water table, our roads, but most of you were asking about how much tax revenue can you guarantee, which was just really sad to me. Please don't make this about money. There's a reason why this beautiful land is zoned AG1, and it was put in the bylaws before some of you were even born. I would be really curious to see if the tides were flipped and some of you were in our position. This project has become an invasion of our privacy. For what? More money. Please, again, don't make this about money. Build this somewhere else, not on our private land with thousands of strangers visiting us yearly. Really appreciate your time. And Mr. Lenahan, I know you have advocated for controlled development and the preservation of Nelson County's aerial rural character. I hope you're a man of your word and vote no for this. Thank you.
Robin Ebelher.
I spoke for her as well.
Oh, okay. Gordon Walker.
Good afternoon. My name's Gordon Walker. I live at 634 Stone Chimneys Road in Ellisford. I'm here representing the Blue Ridge Respite Program, which is for caregivers of persons with dementia and Parkinson's. Asking you to support something that's on the consent agenda that would proclaim the county as being dementia friendly. And let me tell you some of the benefits of that action. The aim of dementia friendly community is to help people with dementia and their caregivers to continue to engage and thrive in their communities. Ongoing social engagement is critical for people living with dementia and their family caregivers, who often become isolated as a result of the disease progressing. Social interaction is protective of brain health and can help slow or delay cognitive decline. As you probably know, nearly 30% of Nelson County is over the age of 65, which is more than twice the national average. 11% of Nelson's population over 65 has dementia, and I expect there are even more. And when you think of that population with dementia, think of the families that are caring for them, the impact it has on their health, their jobs, and their overall well-being. Dementia-friendly community can raise awareness of dementia and support the development of respect and inclusion of people living with dementia. It can also increase an understanding of ways to support family caregivers so they can continue to provide care for their loved ones at home. Nearly a dozen localities in Virginia have already agreed to be called dementia-friendly. For instance, Culpeper County has over 70 businesses that receive dementia-friendly training. Examples include restaurants where employees are more patient and understanding of persons with that impairment. Businesses are asked to put up this sticker. When people see that sticker, a business or the people know that that business will then be able to patronize the business without stigma or embarrassment. Training would be available to faith communities, thus improving their understanding of dementia and improve communication skills, and caregivers learn about how they can support the caregivers within their congregations. So I hope you will support that proclamation, and thank you.
Thank you. Drew Perkins.
Hi, Drew Perkins. I live at 122 Gasoline. I've been a member of that community for probably 35 years. When I moved up there, most of the people that lived in Newland were either employees of the Institute, had gone to the Institute. It was very few people that lived outside of, or very few people in the community that didn't have any involvement. At that time, Bob Monroe was still running the Institute, so there was a lot of community feel. I've seen over the years many of his children and family members take over leadership. I'm really concerned about the expansion. Number one, I don't have any trust whatsoever in the current leadership of the Institute. I don't think that they've been transparent with what they're doing. I can tell you in the 35 years that I've been there, I have never seen such activity in terms of improvements that have been happening over the last couple of years with their buildings. Newland is, I believe if I have the numbers correct, we have 50 landowners, 84 lots. Each landowner is able to have a vote at our annual meeting in terms of, the business of maintaining the roads. And the Institute has 9 lots. I have 2, some people have 5, some people have 1. I fundamentally, the problem that I have with this expansion is I don't believe that any one owner of property in that area should be able to hog the resources, which they would definitely be doing with the water. I also have some real significant concerns about the safety of our neighborhood. Despite what was said at the last meeting, where somebody from the Institute stated that they'd never had any problems there, that's not true. I've had program participants on my property. There was a time many years ago where I guess they decided that the lake was clothing optional, which became a problem for people that lived in the community that wanted to go there with their families. And it's a different neighborhood now. We have a lot of families with small kids that live right on the road. Just this week when I was driving out of there, I work here in the county as a paramedic for Nelson EMS. And, frequently we have multiple people walking down the roads and program participants. And I'm really concerned about, increasing that number upwards of 100 a week or every 2 weeks. It potentially is going to be problematic. We don't know where these people are coming from. We don't know what their intention is. And they're literally within feet of our homes. And I just don't, I'm really concerned about that. So I hope that you will vote no for the expansion and let us keep our community what it's been for all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Snyder.
No relation. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Colonel Retired Frank Snyder. The rank is relevant because when I retired 3 years ago, my wife and I bought our retirement home at 131 Mimosa Lane. I share a 275-yard border with the Monroe Institute, and in December of 25, my well ran dry over Christmas. Very upsetting for the family, very upsetting for me. The A1 zoning, the agricultural zoning has got to mean something to somebody. We can talk about pollution, they're all valid. In fact, I won't repeat the points, I agree with everything that's been stated so far. But to buy an $800,000 home as retirement property and then have the water just kind of run out on you really wasn't very satisfying. So I completely encourage you to not approve the expansion. It's not good for the community. It's not good for your brand to go against the certification of an A1 agricultural area. Thank you.
Joe Kennedy.
Joe Kennedy, 5658 Glade Road in Schuyler. This past week, the school board sent some correspondence with you guys about being able to use the funds left over from last year toward a capital improvement fund to specifically hopefully handle some deteriorating HVAC equipment at our schools, and just wanted to encourage you that the schools are one of the county's most valuable resources, one of our best assets, and a critical responsibility. And I want to encourage you to hopefully receive that favorably and work with us toward those goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Gillian Lanier?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jillian Lanier, and I live at 1208 Roberts Mountain Road in Fopper in the Newland property. Thank you for your time. So my husband and I moved to Newland in May of 2014, and little did we know that weekend that I was actually pregnant with our first daughter, Rose. And then 3 years later, we had our son, Luke. At the time, we were one of two of the only families in the neighborhood with young children. However, every year there have been new families moving to our neighborhood. Now, and I don't know if I have 8 to 10 now, families with children ranging in the age from infancy to high school that live in our little slice of Nelson County. My children's best friends are actually in our neighborhood within walking distance of our house. They walk to each other's houses, they ride bikes together on the road, they swim at our lake together and enjoy a currently beautiful and safe neighborhood. It's one of those rare, real neighborhoods in Nelson County that still exists. There's not that many neighborhoods, and it's in the Rockfish School District. And I've been a teacher at Rockfish River Elementary for the past 19 years. I actually received the honor of Teacher of the Year for the Nelson County Public Schools for this past year. So I know how important it is for our families with young children to build those connections and camaraderie in their neighborhoods. Newland is a strong community of families, and I'm here to tell you that expanding the Monroe programming to this level is certain to have major negative effects on the safety of our community. It feels like the Institute and those in favor of this are willing to accept this increased risk, but I'm not. The vast majority of the attendees of the Institute are not from Nelson County, they're not even from Virginia, and they're often international. The majority of them that we've spoken to have little understanding that it's actually a neighborhood filled with people living their everyday lives. Instead, they seem to feel like it's a resort village. Many appear to be completely unaware that it's a residential neighborhood where we have families living, children playing, and residents use this space, shared space, every single day. We already experienced safety concerns from the visitors walking in their roads completely inattentively, gathering right next to our homes where my children play and my neighbors' children, and using our lake when we are there with our own children. Expanding retreats to nearly 100 people at a time will only intensify these issues. More strangers, more trafficked, and it's going to fundamentally change the character and the safety of our neighborhood. I don't think you probably feel safe with strangers around your kids, and I don't either. If you lived in our neighborhood, I suspect that you would similarly be concerned about these large groups of out-of-towners wandering around in your own neighborhood. We're the ones raising the families here year-round. We're asking you to protect the safety, privacy, and the quality of life of the residents who call Newland home.
Thank you. That concludes our list. Is there anybody with burning comments that did not sign up? Okay. I'm gonna close our public comments.
Madam Chair, I was going to suggest for the consent agenda, we motion to approve the consent agenda and then just have members simply read the respective proclamations.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move to approve the consent agenda as presented. I am P 2026-04. So whoever's May is Older Americans Month. That's David. Right?
Yeah, I think they're.
I have a list. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, I actually am reading the first one. We're reading them.
We
We
approved
did.
them all, we're gonna read them. Okay.
All right, proclamation P 2026-02, Nelson County Board of Supervisors. May is Older Americans Month. Whereas May is Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize and honor the many older adults in Nelson County and their immeasurable influence on every facet of American society. And whereas Nelson County recognizes how, through their wealth of life experience and wisdom, older adults guide our younger generations and carry forward abundant cultural and historical knowledge. And whereas Nelson County recognizes that older Americans improve our community through intergenerational relationships, community service, civic engagement, and many other activities. And whereas Nelson County benefits when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and live independently. And whereas Nelson County must ensure that older Americans have the resources and the support needed to stay involved in their communities, reflecting on our commitment to inclusivity and connectedness. And now, therefore, be it resolved, on this 12th day of May 2026, the Nelson County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim May 2026 to be Older Americans Month. We urge every resident to champion your health, this year's theme, by taking proactive action to enhance your ability to age in place. We encourage everyone to take an active role in managing their own health, advocating for themselves, assessing preventative care, and making informed decisions that support independence. Mr. Reed, as Nelson County is a dementia-friendly community.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Proclamation P 2026-03, Nelson County Board of Supervisors. Nelson County is a dementia-friendly community. Whereas dementia is a growing public health crisis with almost 11% of Nelson County residents over 65 living with this disorder and approximately 30% of the county's population over 65. And whereas family caregivers are facing increasing physical, mental, emotional, and financial strain. And whereas the number of people living with dementia or caring for someone with dementia is expected to grow in the coming years as the number of older residents increases. And whereas the Nelson County Board of Supervisors wants to ensure that the county is welcoming and inclusive to all those impacted by dementia. And whereas local government, businesses, the faith community, financial institutions, first responders, healthcare providers, educational institutions, and the citizens of the county can make small changes to provide a community in which people living with dementia can continue to be involved, active, respected, valued, and understood. And whereas the Dementia Friendly Initiative is dedicated to raising community awareness of dementia and the needs of those living with dementia and their caregivers. And whereas today marks the official launch of the county's efforts to join other localities by supporting dementia-friendly initiatives for the community, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Nelson County Board of Supervisors and on behalf of its residents that from this day forward, Nelson County is hereby proclaimed as a dementia-friendly community and urges all citizens to join in this coordinated effort.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Rutherford.
Hey, Madam Chair, Nelson County Board of Supervisors, May 10th through 16th, 2026 is National Police Week. I was going to ask if the police officers in the room could please stand and be recognized while we read this resolution. If that is appropriate, Madam Chair?
That's fair.
All right, gentlemen, please stand. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas National Police Week in America was created to honor the service and recognize the sacrifice and contributions made by police officers in communities both large and small. And whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, Wintergreen Police Department, and Virginia State Police, who play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our residents. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and Whereas the men and women of the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, Wintergreen Police Department, and Virginia State Police, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in doing so have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation preserving the rights and securities of all citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Nelson County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim May 10th, 2026 through May 16th, 2026 as National Police Week in honor of law enforcement officers both past and present who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice through their loyal service to their community. Let's give these guys a round of applause.
Okay. Presentations. We have VDOT reports.
Give him the day off.
Yeah, Mr. Brown's not here.
Madam Chair, I was going to suggest before we get into new and unfinished business, a restroom break.
And before we do that, while we're on VDOT, do we have, I think it's important for us to make an announcement about the upcoming meeting on the 27th of May that VDOT will be hosting at the Nelson Center to discuss a potential R-cut at the intersection of Route 56 and 29 and at Arrington Road and 29, and also to discuss Tanbark. It's going to be May 27th at the Nelson Center from 5 to 7, and encourage everybody to come out and share your thoughts on that. And have we gotten a link to, we have not, so they have not sent us a link to their website where this is going to be posted, but look at the county's website. I think we have some information there. Is that correct? But pretty important meeting, May 27th, 5 to 7. Please come out and hear what VDOT has to say. I think you'll be surprised.
Madam Chair, if I may, the second project is actually not the Tanbark project. It is the Rockford School Lane turn lanes.
Gotcha.
So just
Yep.
to make that.
Thank you.
One up.
Break.
5-minute break.
It is 3:04. We will be back at